So now the shear line of this kayak is fairly well established. We use the batten, we use Thixo, a little bit of 410. Now it's time to move on to the deck and fare the deck. There's some low spots, there's some high spots, and the best tool to discover these is your hand. You rub your hand along the surface. Your hand's very sensitive. They can feel the high spots, they can feel the low spots. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm going around looking for particularly the low spots because I'm preparing to add another round of 410 to this. So I'm looking for low spots. Where do I want to put more putty? Now that the low spots have been identified, the boat has been wiped down with acetone, it's now time to start putting on some putty. I'm going to use 410 again here because I don't anticipate it being very thick. So this particular spot, the scarf joint, I think there's a compound of errors. You're going to see as this video progresses that there's a lot of different colors and layers that end up happening here. I think one, that's right on the scarf of the plywood, so if the scarf wasn't exactly perfect, which nothing really is, there's a little bit of a height difference. And the other thing here, I think, is our bulkhead. I don't know what happened with these bulkheads when we cut it out. I'd love to blame the ShopBot. You guys know that. But it got a little irregular around the bulkhead. So this area's got both a scarf and a bulkhead, so it gets a little bit tricky. I'm going to use larger putty knives. The larger the putty knife I use, the larger the area I can smooth, and hopefully that'll help me out sanding later.
I'm sailing away, set an open course for the virgin sea, 'cause I've got to be free, free to face a life that's ahead of me. On board, I'm the captain, so climb aboard. We'll search for tomorrow on every shore, and I'll try, oh Lord, I'll try to carry on.
Once dry and wiped down with acetone, it's time to sand the deck. I'm using a longboard instead of the random orbit sander. The longboard, the bottom of the longboard's about 24 inches, where the random orbit sander's only 6 inches. So we want to think about this as almost like a batten that sands. That's what a longboard is. So we're looking to fare this deck. We need to use the longest surface, I would say possible, but longest surface reasonable with sandpaper on it. It's way more physical work than just taking a random orbit sander, but the result is going to be worth it.
But we'll try best that we can to carry on. A gathering of angels appeared above my head. They sang to
now that the hull and deck are fair to a point where I'm happy, it's time to round over the seams. The seam in the center line, I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that I go from flat to flat, so from surface to surface. I want a nice rounded transition. The reason I waited to do this until the hull and the deck were fair is so that I could round a fair line instead of trying to fair a rounded line.
Making love to the gators in the swamp, and you drive me crazy with that boogie, oogie, 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 oogie. You drive me crazy with that boogie, boogie, boogie.
To aid in making this roundover as even as possible around this fair curve, I'm going to make a mark about 1/8 of an inch in on the deck and again down on the hull on both sides with my pencil. That way, as I'm sanding, I have a reference mark where I know when I have to stop sanding.
You drive me crazy with that boogie, boogie, boogie. Voodoo lady, shaking that stick, driving me crazy. Voodoo lady, oh yeah.
Next week, we're going to figure out what these things are all about.